All right. Well, right. Welcome
Hey,
to
hey,
another
hey.
episode of The Inspired Show with George and... Okay, do it again.
You did it, right?
No, you do it.
All right, welcome in. It's the Inspired Show with Joe and George. We're looking forward to today's show.
Yeah.
We got a lot of good stuff for you today. So excited because this is a topic that we're very passionate about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, despite what our producer keeps calling it, which is self-help, it's not self-help. It's personal development.
Personal development.
I feel when people say self-help, I don't know. I need to do some self-help on my self-help concept because I feel it's like, ooh, self-help, you're okay.
You're doing okay?
You're okay. You
Yeah.
want to go read a book on feelings. But no,
Yeah.
personal development is different. Personal development, I feel, is, and I'm just going to go into it. I think that I've always been very curious about what motivates people, right? And you know, obviously we live in a culture and a society where we need to make money and we need to have all these relationships, but what is behind that motivation, right? And I think having a mother that was really into these kind of studies, she took me and my sister to India when I was 20, and we went to see this guru named Sai Baba, and I think that was the beginning of my awakening, if you will. I'll never forget that my mom had a book of Tony Robbins with her during that trip. And I started reading that book. And I had never even seen that anybody kind of doing any kind of personal development work and reading about how to use all these different methodologies to be more effective and be a better worker and be a better person. Just, it mesmerized me, right?
Yeah.
It blew me away. And I think that was the genesis of me going into this personal development path, which I've gone to like over 30 or 40 even seminars, anywhere from like A Course in Miracles and the work of Byron Katie and Abraham Hicks and Joe Dispenza and all these different things. And I love it. It's given me so much of a richer quality in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, you know, for me personally, the personal development came with my circumstances of my life. I'll just be completely honest with you. You know, it was a very volatile upbringing, right? And you could either go one of two ways. You can go down the path of, you know, woe is me and go deeper into a depression. And, you know, there's been...
Why?
Because when I grew up, I felt like my mom was always working. My dad was there, but he wanted to be the fun dad, right? He never really gave me that person to look up to, because in my opinion, and, you know, I'll just be, you know, blunt, you know, I felt like my dad never really wanted to be a father. He just wanted, he wanted me. There was no lack of love. It was just, he just wanted to use his ability to go take me to Magic Mountain and go take me to Catalina and then push me back onto my mom, right? And so there was no real... I always had that question of, well, why don't we just, you know, have a normal family, right? And then my sister, who's 5 years older than me, she always had a little bit of a chip on her shoulder, and she went down that path. That, you know, there's a fork in the road. You either go on the positive side or you go on the negative side, and unfortunately, my sister went down that path of drugs and. You know, she was a drug addict, and I saw what she was doing, and I wanted the absolute opposite of what she was doing, right? Even though I partied and had all of those experiences, I just was like to a point where I just was like, I don't really want to go too far down that road, right? And so over time, my lifestyle morphed into taking the higher road. Does that make sense? And spirituality came into my life at a very early age. My grandmother was an amazing woman who wanted me to know God and wanted me to, you know, be a spiritual person. But I never truly understood what that religion was about. I just kind of like, oh, I'm supposed to go to this church on Sunday, and I'm supposed to, you know, go to a Sunday school, and you know, I always felt like I never really truly understood what that was about. And so I kind of just went on my own path of learning and knowledge and started reading books and started reading, you know, the Bible and started understanding all of that. And then, you know, just, you know, over the last couple of years, we've known each other, and you kind of have helped me kind of calculate everything, like, put everything, all the pieces together. And so that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Yeah, no, and you've been a great student.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, and I'm a student, right? Like, and I think we're all students.
We're all students
of life, and I definitely, I got into this kind of new age wave of kind of taking responsibility for your life.
Yes.
And I know that that's not something that I expect for people to understand or even follow, or it's my way of life. I believe that everything that happens to us is a manifestation that we brought upon ourselves, and sometimes
power of thought, right?
It's the power of thought, and sometimes it's not very obvious why it's happening, but you just have to kind of trust it. I know we see things like, when someone, when you're sick, when we see someone sick with a disease, and we think, oh, that's emotional. That's the emotional wear and tear that person has had for years. But then you look at a kid that's 4 years old that has leukemia, right? And then you think, well, how do you explain that? That kid just came into the world, he didn't choose. But then you have to just have faith that that disease was meant for a reason.
Well, I personally believe, too, that also comes from the mother, the womb, whatever she's experiencing, right? That transfers, right? I mean, we all have a DNA, basically like a transfer from our past, right? I mean, ancestral healing, right? You showed me that book very early on in our relationship, and how you have to let go of your ancestors, feelings about their upbringing and things of that nature.
And also, even that kid, then you have to also kind of go with the theory that even that kid that has a leukemia chose this experience for some reason. I'm not saying necessarily karma because they did something bad in their past life, but just for some learning.
Yeah.
And I think that's
It's like an imprint.
Like an imprint of something that they wanted to experience.
Right.
And what's been really kind of effective in my current state of personal development, and I tell everybody about this, is obviously, the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza. And the reason why I personally got in the work is because my dad died 3 years ago of leukemia, and I was a stem cell donor. And my mom died last year of a breast cancer metastasized. He was 67, she was 70, and it made me immediately look into the conversation of genetics, right? What does that mean for me, for my sister, who is the love of my life? And through the teachings of Dr. Joe, I discovered epigenetics, right, which is the study of anything above genetics. And what he talks about and teaches is how your genetics are like Christmas lights. You can have as many Christmas lights in your house, but if you're not turning on the button, the on switch, then you're not turning on the genetic predisposition.
Right.
And because of that, and what turns on your genetic predisposition is stress. Fight or flight.
Yep.
The human body was not supposed to be on fight or flight 70% of the time,
All the time.
like most of us live. Fight or flight is great if there's a dinosaur chasing you and you turn on your...
Or somebody coming after you.
Yeah, exactly. Like that immediate stress, a deer is getting hunted by a predator. You turn on your fight or flight, your immune system gets down. We're basically a computer.
That's right.
Your immune system goes down, you go for that run, you hide, and then your autonomic system comes back to normal and you're fine.
Homeostasis.
Yeah. But that's not the situation anymore. That predator is not a predator. It's your coworker, or is your mother-in-law, or is your credit card bill. So we've created
whatever that circumstance is.
Yeah, the ongoing chronic circumstance that we've kept on in our life going. And it's so insane how, I don't know about you, but I see it so clearly on friendships. I see friends of mine that are like just running through so many stress moments in their life, and I do believe that we're all, in a sense, addicted to our emotions. So if
there's Dr. Joe talks about how there's a chemical that's called oxytocin, and there's adrenaline that happens in your brain, And I know there's a lot of people that get addicted to that chemical of oxytocin. That's why you see people that are in relationships for that very first period where it's all happy and love and all of that kind of stuff like that. And then once that goes away, they're like, I don't know if I want to be in this relationship anymore. Right?
Yeah. So by being emotionally addicted to our emotions, we create situations that keep delivering those results. So, like for example, I was just talking to my friend right now. He's got a 2.5-year-old and he's got a 5-month-old, and he's going through it, and he's like, "Oh, I can't wait till the 5-month is 2 years old. So then the 4-year-old now they'll have somebody to play, and it won't be stressful anymore." And I'm thinking to myself, man, you don't know what's coming, because, and again, this is just my belief, I think like he will create another stressful situation to suffice that, because now his body is so addicted to that way of being.
Well, I think the key thing there too is that be careful what you say out loud. Be careful what you think in your brain. Right?
Oh my God, it's key,
because it'll manifest.
Yeah, it'll cement. So that is so let's go a little backwards before that. So the subconscious mind, right, which is 95% of everything, and the conscious mind is 5%. So right now we're having a 5% conversation. 95% is how you drive, your moods, everything. So if you're wired to constantly be on a stress response, right? Then it's almost like the world will accommodate to bring you to that state. The only way to break through that, rewire that subconscious, is on a meditation state. When you go on the meditations, which you and I do very regularly, in the morning or at night when your brain's on theta. Theta is a dream state in which your brain basically is like a sponge, and it records everything. That's why you don't want to watch the news before you go to bed, or you don't want to hear bad news before you go to bed, because you take all that into your subconscious dream state. So when you actively do these meditations every day, you're little by little chipping away all those emotional addictions that we have to stress.
And I think that's a big factor of where I am today, right? And where you're at today, right? We talked about it in the past about, alcohol and substance and things of that nature. And it's not like one day, I was like sitting there going, I'm gonna quit drinking. I'm gonna quit drinking. It was just, nope, my body doesn't need it anymore. Right. And that's because of the work that we've been doing with the meditation. Right. So let's talk about that process a little bit. Right. A suggestion by some of the work that we do is to wake up early in the morning, right?
Yeah, I used to, prior to my pinched nerve, I was waking up at 4 in the morning. Now I'm going into a 5:30 meditation. But according to the teachings of Dr. Joe, you want to do it the golden hour, right? It's between 4 and 6. In which your brain is like a sponge. So imagine, so you're very sponge-like, and you're hammering away with these meditations that are making you foresee that future, fulfill that you want, feeling so grateful, right, about your life, taking an inventory of your body, your health, your relationships, all the things that are going well for you. So immediately, by being in that gratitude, you're in tune with that state of receivership, and you're attracting.
And then breathing is a crucial part of that, right? Because your breath exercise can actually get you into that theta state at an actually more efficient time frame, right? So you have to, when you wake up in the morning, either you go into a room where there's nobody else around, and you start your breathing exercises, and you start with your affirmations and your gratitude affirmations, right? And then you're going through like true statements, right? I am, using the word I am, and I love where I'm at in my life. I am.
So you do that every morning?
Every morning.
Yeah, I do. I do the meditations first, and then when I go to the gym, I do the kaleidoscope, the affirmations. We'll talk about the kaleidoscope. And so would you say that it's been like night and day, your quality of life?
Night and day.
Really?
Yeah, because
So since when? Just take me through the scope of work.
So It actually all started really right around the time of COVID, because I'm a very social person, and when we went into the lockdown and the quarantine, at the time I was working like 70 hours a week. I was managing teams. I was getting in a different city, at least two times out of the month, on the road doing my thing, and doing networking events and all this stuff like that. And then we just got shut down, right? And so I kind of started going stir crazy, and I was a lot of that emotional baggage that I encountered during my childhood came back to the forefront, and I was like, what is going on, right? And that's what really kind of led me to wanting to dig deeper and not fall into the trap of woe is me and blame my parents. I mean, there was a moment where I was actually doing that, and my relationship was being affected by that with my parents. And so,
no, I remember that
yeah.
You were like, and do you think like just cutting all that conversation out, like that complaining, was key?
So one of the mantras in the morning is I embrace my past with love. I mean, that's
Really
just
taking that in.
That's taking that in, right? I embrace the past with love, because we talk about it on a regular basis on the show. You have to accept that you're here for a reason. You're here to help others, and you're here to have an impact, right? And if I'm the one who's pointing the finger and blaming something else for my circumstances, I'm becoming a victim.
Yeah.
Right?
It's interesting. I wonder if you know what's been happening to me lately? And I love all my friends, right? And I just can't indulge in conversations of trashing somebody, or even talking about people bores me.
Yeah.
I want to talk about ideas. I want to talk about creativity, what's next for you. But does that happen to you? There's people in my life that I love so much, but man, the minute that they just start complaining, there's a part of me that, and then that's when actually I have to apply compassion, where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to hear this person out. But I don't want to be, I intentionally drive myself out of those conversations, and I feel like I'm parting ways with a lot of people that I love.
Parting ways, but they're also coming back to you in a different mindset.
Yeah,
right?
It's true. Some of them do. Some of them do.
So I tend to coach, right? I guess I have that personality, right? So when people start going down that path, I don't cut them off. I just say, hey, let's be careful what we're saying to each other right now, because it might take us into a direction that we both don't want to be in, right? And then that completely diverts the conversation to something more positive, And I think a lot of people may get offended by that, because they want to experience that. They want to go into their program.
That's the emotional addiction, where they want to crave into those conversations.
Yeah. And so all the work that I've been doing and we've been doing, I've been promoting to other people in my life. And as a result, I was just talking to my sister the other day, and she's like, oh my God, those videos you've been sending me about Joe and Dr. Joe Dispenza's work and all this stuff like that, it's actually really, truly helping me. It actually helped me when I had an encounter with my mom, in Utah, and she's like, instead of me getting upset and going into my normal, pattern, I actually stopped for a moment and said, well, maybe he's just experiencing his emotional program, and it's not reflecting on me. I was amazed. Because normally my sister would just remove herself from the situation completely, go into her normal shutdown pattern, and, have a terrible time the rest of the time that she was, with my mom. So, I personally think that as a result of the work that we're doing, we're going to have an impact on others that are going to help them see the light to a different lifestyle. So every morning in the morning, it may not be at 4 a.m, but now that my mind is more clear, I do find myself waking up even earlier than my 5:25 in the morning alarm clock, and at that point, then I'll go do my I'll start my day out with is yoga. Well, actually, first I'll do the affirmations, and then I'll do yoga, and then I'll move into a meditation. And then from there, I do my physical fitness and working out and things of that nature. And by the time my wife is waking up, I'm already ahead of all of that emotion, all of that baggage, all of that stuff. And so I'm actually starting my day free of any of that type of experience.
Yeah, that's good. And it really creates how the rest of the day is going to go. I think, getting on that chair and doing the morning meditation is key, you know, and I wouldn't miss it for the world, because I do feel like there's so much magic, and I don't want that magic to end.
Right.
And I just feel, I don't know about you, but I've been telling everybody, especially, going into this AI business that we're getting into, it's like, I'm so excited about it. And the reason why I know it's going to work is because I don't give a shit. Like, I've lost so much of my grip on being attached to, how my body's going to look, how it's going to feel, the relationship that I'm in or not, the amount of money in the bank. And it's weird, because by losing that grip on how they should look, they come easier to me.
Yeah.
Like, whether, finding love and affinity in all relationships, not just like an intimate one.
Right.
Money keeps coming and doing what it's going to do. Sometimes it goes, sometimes it comes. It's coming most of the time. And I see it with my friends. I see the ones that are struggling. They put so much attention on the lack.
Right.
That like yesterday I was talking to a really good friend of mine, and he's just like, he can't stop worrying about money. And I'm like, man, I wish I, and he was like, well, guys our age are going through this crisis, right? Of this moment in life. And I looked at it, I was like, I'm having the best time ever. And he was like, no, actually, I agree with you, which is why it's hard for me to hang with you sometimes, because you're a point of trigger, because I know that in many ways you're thriving. And I just looked at him and I was like, listen, I wish I could just, like, somehow I could make it land on you that it has nothing to do with the outside world. It actually, it's all internal. It's the more that the world was created with this, our culture is created with this, the dangling carrot syndrome, right?
Yes.
Like, once I get the house, once I get the money, once I get that job, once I get the health, once I get the body, I'm going to be happy.
Then my life is going to be happy.
But it'll never do that, because the mind will recalibrate.
You actually get further and further away from that.
It'll make it into another thing. It'll make, no, but I want the bigger house. No, I want the better partner. No. And in our whole life, we just spend chasing this thing and not really realizing that in this very moment, we have everything we need. Everything
All
we
your
need
needs
is
are
in
met.
this moment. Like, right now, you can breathe. Even if you're in pain, you can breathe. You have a roof over your head. You have an ability to process your thoughts and not let negative thoughts take you down. And it's almost like that. You can be with uncertainty. You have everything you need. You have this body that it's doing its job, and
that's one of the things that I'm grateful for every single morning. Right, I wake up and I'm just like, I say thank you for allowing me to wake up and have this breath and have this lovely wife and this lovely home. I'm so grateful for that. Right. Yeah. The other thing too is the health. Right. We talked about my genetic kidney disease. Yeah.
So tell us what happened that you went to the doctor a couple of weeks ago, or whatever.
So I truly believe that, and one of my doctors explained this disease, that we all have cell reproduction. And cell reproduction is called meiosis. It's like a light switch that turns on and off in our body. Well, in our renal system, on my dad's side of the family, the light switch doesn't turn off in the renal system. And so what happens is cell overproduction, and then cysts grow on your kidneys and on your liver. More on the females in the liver, because the certain hormone called vasopressin will overproduce in the liver area more than in the kidney area. And so I truly believe that through our mental fitness, I can turn that switch on and off normally. And as a result, I was at a nephrologist, kidney doctor, for 4.5 years ago, where we were doing all these studies. I was in FDA drug trials, and I was getting myself poked and prodded every single month, and MRIs and scans and all that stuff like that. And they took a measurement of my kidneys 4.5 years ago, and I left that doctor to go to another program, and I'm now back at that doctor. So they're like, let's measure your kidneys. Let's see where you're at. And so I did the ultrasound, I did the blood results, and they were shocked because they hadn't seen me in 4.5 years. But they said that my kidneys are functioning at 90%.
Wow.
And my cysts, or my kidneys, have not grown in volume more than 3 millimeters in 4.5 years. Now, normally, I'm going to turn 45 this year. Normally, people that have this disease in my age bracket, they're already heading to dialysis. They're already getting on the kidney transplant lists. And so
So you've dramatically slowed it down.
Dramatically slowed it down.
Wow.
And so...
And now, do they think if you keep dramatically slowing down, you won't even need a kidney
I may never
transplant?
need a kidney transplant or never need dialysis.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I know that's something that has colored your life so much on how you thought things were going to go, right?
The number one reason why I decided to get back into being an entrepreneur, because I felt like where the path that I was on was not going to be give me the resources to be able to live the lifestyle that I want to live when I'm ailing from this disease. And I didn't want to be a burden to my wife, or I didn't want to be a burden to any of my family members. So I wanted to make enough money to where I could be able to hire a nurse to come take care of me when I'm going through this ailment, right?
Of course, so you were financially set.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, it's beautiful how just you're setting yourself up to things to unfold, but then you're pivoting, and now that might not even be your reality at all. I mean, now you're gonna have both best of both worlds. You're gonna have money and health.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I think that's the key is don't let the circumstance that you have going against you be your path.
Yeah, that's why the work that we do with Dr. Joe is so, it's just so important, because it actually helps you to rewire the subconscious and what your beliefs are. So I mean, it's such a cliche statement, but your belief, right? Belief is everything. But the thing is, a lot of things that we believe are subconscious. So we don't even know that we believe in the world is a scary place until you dig, or the world is an unfair place. And then until you actually do the digging and you're like, wait a minute, obviously. Because you know what? In this moment, I do agree that we are a manifestation of our belief system. Right now, with whatever money you have in the bank and whatever situation you're having, whatever situation I'm having, we're products of what we've been believing up to this point.
That's
now,
right.
We can make a huge quantum leap out of nowhere. And that's not to say that having billions of dollars in the bank is the answer to it all, because there's a lot of people that have that situation that are miserable.
Yep.
But I do think that, and I believe that you're in that situation like me, man, life is just really good. You know, and we're so blessed. We do what we want. We're making good work. We have amazing, loving people around us. We're in good health. Our core belief system's pretty tight.
Yep.
To enable the life that we have.
And I truly believe that what the work that we're doing with Joe Dispenza doesn't take us away from our spirituality. It actually enhances it. Yeah. It breaks it down scientifically how the people of the Bible era, right, before Christ and after Christ, actually used their spiritual energy to help heal people.
Yeah, a lot of I've been really lucky. I've gone to 2 of his workshops already, and we do these healings on people. And once we did a healing on you.
Yes.
And I try to do them at least once a week. And it's beautiful.
But it's the power of prayer, right?
It's the power of prayer.
It's the power of prayer
and the power of belief.
Yep.
And the power of letting go. And I've never felt more love in my life in And it was when I was the one giving love.
Yeah.
And he pointed that out, which was so interesting. He's like, isn't it funny? You never felt more love, and it was actually you giving love and not receiving it, which made me realize how, like, any love that I think that I need from the outside is just love that I'm not giving myself in that very moment.
That's very powerful.
Yeah. So, in our trajectory as people, as entrepreneurs, I think that applying those principles, the Dr. Joe principles, but any principle, meditation, I can't speak highly enough.
Yeah. So key factors are go out and seek out spiritual leaders.
Yeah.
Right. Go out and there's Ed Milet, there's Tony Robbins, there's your local pastor. Try and understand as much as you can about how the power of thought can help you achieve all of your dreams.
Yeah. And then you'll graduate to the power of word.
Yeah.
Where everything you say, it's like you got to keep it so clean, because you will manifest what you keep talking about, and what you keep thinking about is what you keep talking about. But there is a level of responsibility of just stop talking about what you don't want, and then you'll start almost like creating less thoughts when you stop talking about it too. So
that's powerful.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you guys got what you came here to get out of watching this or hearing us out. But the cliff notes is look into Dr. Joe.
Well, there's a couple books that we can share.
Yeah.
You Are the Placebo
and Becoming Supernatural. And it's a perfect blend between science and spirituality, which is I think it's a lot easier to digest.
That's right.
For anybody, especially people that are not used to this kind of.
Yeah, it doesn't take you away from your spiritual beliefs.
Yeah.
It just helps you
Or your religion.
It helps you calculate things. And so.
And it's helped us be better flippers and entrepreneurs. More patience.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching.
Thanks for joining today. You can always find us on all of the podcast stations.
I was waiting for that.
You gotta have it, right?
Yeah.
You gotta guide people to where you can find us. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, Inspired Show. We're at the Inspired Show on Instagram, Facebook, all of the social media platforms, and we're going to continue to keep pushing out more content just like this, so that way we hope to inspire you to perform at your highest level.
Thank you for watching.
Thanks for joining us.